to go from president to unemployed in under 6 hours? Okay, South Korea president is crazy for this.
Guys, the South Korea situation is crazy.
Very crazy.
The president's life's absolutely ruined after one of the dumbest decisions I've seen in my life. The dude tried to pull an Emperor Palpatine, but absolutely failed miserably.
It got backfired.
Not even half an hour after he stated what he was going to do, the South Koreans all went to the streets and protested. Even though the weather was extremely cold and there was a snowstorm going on, they were not going to deal with his antics.
You cannot underestimate South Koreans, okay? Remember what happened to Johnny Somali? Yeah, they do not play around.
But this wasn't even close to the craziest thing that happened throughout this incident. You had the leader of the opposing party live stream himself trying to go against the orders of the president. Okay,
no, that's crazy.
Absolutely wild. What essentially happened was that the South Korean president enacted martial law hoping to seize full, unquestionable power, mobilizing the military and seeking to disrupt the entire country. In the end, though, he ended up completely underestimating his own citizens.
That's what I'm saying.
And made a grave miscalculation. Make no mistake, this will be in the history books of your children.
Fuck yeah.
So I figured we should probably talk about it. Let's do it. On December 3rd, around 10:27 p.m. South Korean time, the South Korean president, with no prior announcement or warning, declared martial law, emergency martial law.
He's like, surprise, bitches.
Saying that he had to rein in the country because too many politicians were corrupt and working with the enemy, which is North Korea. He said he wanted to fix the country. Now, under the Constitution of South Korea, the president can by himself actually declare martial law. What he was doing was fully within his rights.
Okay.
But for South Koreans, especially the ones from older generations, martial law was bad news no matter how you worded it. The last time a martial law was imposed was in the year of 1980. A rogue general had taken over the country and imposed martial law on it, closed down all newspapers, silenced anyone who was against him, arrested politicians, and put the country under dictatorship. Many South Koreans tried to go up against him, but unfortunately left this planet doing so, let's just say. The martial law order only ended up being lifted in 1981. After 456 days of suffering. And
imagine wanting a dictatorship in 2024 or like attempting to try to make one. Come on, bruh.
And it was only in 1987 that the Sixth Republic of Korea was written and then put into place in 1988. Ever since then, it's been a democracy and there hasn't been any martial law order imposed. So what the hell led us here? How are we here today? Well, Yoon Suk-yeol has been the president of South Korea since 2022. But very shortly after taking office, he became very disliked by his population. South Koreans were seeing him as ineffective, someone who couldn't put into place impactful policies to advance the country forward. And by 2024, his approval rating is as low as 20%. This means that 8 out of 10 South Koreans don't like him and want him out of the office.
You're not likable.
I mean, I think it's safe to say that even Kim Jong-un has a higher approval rating and he wasn't even voted in by his population.
That is so sad if your approval rate is lower than Kim Jong-un. What?
He is deeply unpopular.
Oh my God.
This unpopularity stretches even to the National Assembly, where the party that has the majority of votes is the opposing party, the one who is against the president. They're called the Democratic Party. So he hasn't really had much luck there either, not able to pass the bills he wants to pass. Very recently, on November 29th, 2024, the budget that the president wants to pass for 2025 was cut by $2.9 billion. This was done by the opposition party, the Democratic Party. The same party who's been trying to investigate the wife of the president multiple times now over corruption charges, and just very recently started the process to impeach the head of the state audit agency and 3 prosecutors involved in those scandals. So as you can see, the president has a bit of a rivalry with the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I can see that.
This led many to theorize that all these things accumulated led him to take the decision of martial law, with the budget cut being the final nail in the coffin. He saw his political career ending with shame and decided to take a huge risk. But it's a risk that stank miles away. It simply didn't smell like the best of intentions. Look, there's two different kinds of martial laws: emergency martial law and security martial law.
He did an emergency one.
The most drastic one is emergency martial law, which is the one he had imposed. The same one that was used in 1980. So he could essentially close any media publication he wants to, arrest any person on South Korean soil without any arrest warrant needed, impose curfews, and straight up confiscate someone's bank account if he wanted to. The list goes on. He can do pretty much anything he wants to.
Oh my God.
With no
no way.
needed.
Ain't no way.
The only thing that can stop him is the National Assembly voting to lift the martial law. That's the only threat he faces while having absolute power. Panic was starting to set in. Whether you were a normal citizen, someone in the military, a police officer, it didn't matter. Something like this hadn't happened in over 40 years, and they had
since
no
1980s.
warning prior. The whole thing was extremely unorganized. Now, unfortunately,
what the fuck was K-pop? Oh no, what about my BTS? My Blackpink?
Reaction in the West to this was K-pop stans being worried that their favorite K-pop groups
I can't go to my BTS concert, bro.
After the martial law was imposed, major entertainment companies were canceling events. But hey, I guess they helped spread the word around?
I guess.
As the news was starting to reach the West, we received more updates from South Korea. The martial law commander was announced. It was going to be a man by the name of Park An-soo. He then proceeded to shock the world with his first announcement after taking over this position: that all activities related to the National Assembly and political parties are now banned. I think you're starting to understand why this was such a big deal, right? The only people who can stop the martial law have effectively been banned. Well,
so no one can stop
it. Being able to stop it. It was very clear now why the president was so secretive, why there were no prior announcements. He had announced the martial law order at 10:30 p.m. so that the National Assembly members could not make it to the National Assembly. He wanted to catch them all off guard and take control while they were sleeping. All of this was confirmed when a big problem had revealed itself. The military had been mobilized to block all access to the National Assembly. The stakes at this point could not have been any higher. The South Koreans were essentially seeing their democracy slip through their fingers. And the older generation was having terrible flashbacks back to the year of 1980. But
bro, I saw this TikTok, someone was talking about this, and she's in Korea, and she literally saw a tank, a military tank outside her window on the street at like 9 p.m. A fucking tank!
South Korean men are obligated to serve in the South Korean military through conscription. And while women are not obligated to, they can still voluntarily join. This meant that they didn't really fear the military as much as a regular person would. And they weren't just gonna back down. Even after fully understanding the situation, the opposition Democratic Party urgently summoned its members of the National Assembly. They were going to go and lift that martial law even if the entire army was standing in their way. The South Korean people were aware of these efforts, so they made their way to the National Assembly to help them. There's this clip right here that went absolutely viral of a woman holding a rifle in front of her and not giving a single shit about what would happen if it was shot. Watch.
Oh my god. Oh damn. Yo. Go off, Queens! Oh, whoa, 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 whoa!
The president was not going against the opposition party here. He was going against these regular people. And he had grossly miscalculated just how strong these people were. He had sent the military.
They do not give a fuck.
Helicopters flying over the National Assembly, trying to dissuade people from even approaching it. But nothing was working. The leader of the opposition party live-streamed himself sneaking into the National Assembly by hopping over a fence.
No, that's crazy.
That you don't see at all. This is crazy.
This was not on my 2024 bingo card at all. Like, this is like the story you hear from like movies or science fictions. But holy shit, what a timeline we're living in.
People were in full defiance here. This is such an incredible image that really shows you how the South Korean people came together very quickly to make sure that all the parliament members get through to the National Assembly.
I think after the Johnny Somali and other stupid streamers from foreign countries come in and mess with the Koreans, I feel like since then, they just don't give a fuck anymore. And I'm glad. Good for them. You should stand up for what you believe in. Yeah.
This picture looks like a Renaissance painting. I mean, they're over here lifting the parliament member up the fence.
They're like,
so
go off, Queens. You've got this. You go.
Nullifying this crazy martial law order. You truly don't see this every day. The members were able to sneak into the National Assembly and start the vote. However, the military was still trying to stop them. They were breaking windows and trying to get to the National Assembly to stop whatever was going on because under martial law, this was illegal. But again, the South Korean people showed incredible resilience. They put up barricades from inside the National Assembly.
Shit.
I mean, look at this. This is crazy. Look at all this furniture in front of the doors.
They're barricading
Good luck getting through that.
Yeah, you can't.
It's
you
not
can't.
happening unless you have a bulldozer. This is what happens when your citizens go through conscription. They were using the military's tactics against them.
Yeah.
And thanks to their efforts, 190 members of the National Assembly were able to make it and vote yes to lift the martial law order, completely defying the president. Now, of course, this was a great moment, but it didn't mean much just yet. The president had to acknowledge this and actually order the military to leave.
So embarrassing.
If he didn't, things would have gotten very complicated and he would have been accused of treason. Thankfully, though, 6 hours after declaring the martial law order, he did another speech acknowledging the National Assembly's vote and completely lifting it. As soon as he did that, the soldiers started leaving the National Assembly, retreating, and getting back to their normal lives. The South Korean people pretty much won, making sure to not repeat the same events that had happened in 1980 and all the other martial laws that were abused by people who wanted to stay in power. When things started to calm down, the Democratic Party revealed that the military planned to arrest the Assembly Speaker and party leaders under martial law, which made them review possible insurrection charges. I think it's common sense to say that if you want to arrest your political opponents, that is pretty much against what democracy stands for. That's a very serious accusation.
Yeah, very.
Shortly after, the Democratic Party floor leader, Park Chan-dae, called for President Yoon to step down immediately, saying President Yoon cannot avoid the charge of treason. He must step down immediately. As this was all happening, the senior aides and secretaries of the president have started resigning in droves. This was a complete failed coup, okay? He had turned from dictator to clown in the span of like 4 hours. Even his own senior officials can't back him up anymore. The dude screwed up royally. At this point, it's almost guaranteed that he's going to get impeached and most likely also probably thrown into jail. This was a massive wake-up call to South Korea because they haven't had to deal with something like this for over 40 years. Thankfully, they were able to avert the crisis, but still, one has to think, what if it did end up working? Right? What would have happened then?
Oh no.
But I think the funniest thing in all this is that there are people who slept early and woke up and had no idea this had happened. Protests and fights in the country with an imminent dictatorship and are just now finding out, like this person
on the news, just like the rest of us.
I'm literally in Korea right now for a visit and this shit happens while I was asleep from jet lag. LMAO, my whole Korean family's hella pissed at him and calling him a clown.
For real, he's a clown for real.
I saw a lot of confusion about this topic with many people not knowing what happened. So I thought I'd make a quick video.
This is a good video to explain.
Thank you for watching till the end and I'll see you in the next video. Love you.
What are these people doing?